the closures that are going to happen in September, it feels like a texture of sadness more than anything else. But that texture of sadness comes simultaneously with really big excitement, because you're going to have opportunities already lined up. And those are going to come in and make you realize, wow, I was asking for too little from the universe. I actually could receive more, because I really strongly feel what's coming is better than you even knew was possible. Hello everyone, and welcome back. Today we are going to jump into our September 2025 energy update to see what messages we need to hear for this month to make the most out of the month. What I want to remind you of is I'm tapping into not the general collective, but the collective of our community here. So that is what I tap into to be more specific with messages. If you are not subscribed on YouTube or the podcast, I would really recommend doing that, because it's a way of opting in energetically to the psychic reading. And you'll notice that messages are more specific for you when you opt into that collective group that I'm tapping into. That is how I anchor into my readings. So I just wanted to give you that friendly little reminder. September is an interesting energy for me. I feel like we were on a high in August, and September, just right off the bat, I actually have a deck here that I don't usually use, but I felt called to because there's a very strong red energy for September and some more of that yellow, but it has a different texture from, I believe August had some yellow for me too. If you're new here, I speak in color. I work in color a lot, and every color has its own transmission. September is that fresh energy type of month in a way that comes from completion. So you think about school and you're finishing up summer and you're rolling into school starting in September. And that's what we're starting with this September. It's a 9-month and we are in a 9-year. So this is a lot about completions and endings of cycles. It's really interesting to look at our relationship with endings. A lot of people fear the 9 because sometimes it can mean a closing up of chapters that maybe we wanted to endure for longer, but endings are required for new beginnings to start. So this month, and I find with nines have a feeling of a 1 for me a little bit too, because inherently when you are closing up a cycle, something else can finally open up. But it is going to be a lot more around the closing up of contracts. Specifically, I feel different soul ties, soul contracts. That's a big theme coming up right now. New people having come into your life in August, whether they're brand new or they were already in your field, but they're coming forward in a new way. There's a really big theme of soul activators coming up right now. And with that, we are going to start to see where there were people in our lives that we thought were going to be in it for the long haul, where actually they were just a contract and it's final now, and new people are coming in to activate us. And some of those people are there just for a moment to trigger a new layer of our spiritual awakening. And some of those people are going to be people that are with you for a long period of time. For whatever reason, as we're talking about this, 2027 is coming up a lot. I keep bringing it back to 2025, September 2025, and they just keep bringing me to 2027. And so it feels like this month is really intimately connected to that year. 2027 is going to be a very strong year for new starts. 2026 is gonna, it might sound like it is, but 2027 is where we're going to actually see ourselves in really different realities, because the new beginnings that start next year in 2026 will have settled in where we're actually taking action on those. So if you look at your life from last year or this year compared to what it's going to be in 2027, it will be like fully different person. And so you don't want to stay too attached to anything. But as we've been talking about, there's been so many seeds getting planted this year. I'm going to keep anchoring myself, because as I'm talking, I'm like, I don't know what year I'm in anymore, because 2027 is so loud right now. It's so loud. And what that's telling me is that the things that are completing right now are carving out space for a new seed to get planted. And that is what's going to be fully active in 2027. And what's coming up for a lot of people right now is, okay, I've set this goal. I've been visualizing, I'm setting intention. I have this idea of what I want. And a lot of what that's been up until this point isn't what it's going to be. It got you here, but there is an end to that part of the contract or that part of the timeline that just simply can't continue. So I'll give you an example. Something in my life that came up however long ago, a couple of weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago, was I was tapping into my timelines and things I desired at this stage of my life, but I also noticed I was feeling a little bit differently about it. And what my soul said was, you are trying to take this reality and see how big you can make this reality. You want to keep expanding out this reality. But the thing is that you've hit a peak of where this reality can go, and you need to jump into a different reality or a different timeline track. And that is where the expansion happens. And so when I'm trying to go into the bigness of this timeline, for me, it hit a point with its lessons where I'm done with those lessons. And for me to keep learning my lessons, and for me to tap into the actual frequency of joy and abundance, that next phase of that I want, I actually have to jump up somewhere else, and it's going to bloom in a very different reality, which has meant everything's going to look different for me. And that's very much the energy of what I'm trying to express right now, of noticing where there were trains that you've been on that you thought you were going to be on forever, and they are now coming to a stop. And it's that moment of, whoa, I never thought this train was coming to a stop. I was used to living on this train. You need to trust that process and just allow. This certainly isn't something that you have to aggressively make happen. This is something that's just going to unfold. And in times where there's a lot of endings, it's a really powerful time for us to drop into that surrender, to remember the power of surrender and the power of getting out of the way, which we really should be in at all times. But it forces us to feel that feeling in our body, and that's where energy actually moves. That's where change can actually happen. And so in moments where you feel confused, that's okay. You don't have to figure everything out. Your soul is going to show you what is meant to happen. Your soul is going to take you places, and you don't have to keep trying to micromanage with your mind. In fact, you can't really. It's a cute thing that we try to do to feel like we're in control when we're really not. There's a bigger plan that is unfolding all the time. And so you really learn that lesson, but it's a very humbling moment of, wow, things are coming to a close. There's also a really beautiful moment, a sacred moment. There's something really strong here about the power of ceremony and the power of ritual and how we are approaching ending. So the concept of conscious uncoupling is something that is really relevant here, of people learning that we don't have to close out that version of a relationship, and let's say a romantic relationship, with anger and with hate. What if there is a way for us to say, we're just recognizing that we've done what we can together, but this dynamic isn't serving us anymore. And so with love and respect, we're going to close this up so we can both move into what we're happy with. And that's a very different energy than classic breakups where it's all painful. And obviously different circumstances are going to create different experiences. There's that. But noticing where there are opportunities to end things with love and with respect and with gratitude for what it was, instead of waiting for it to blow up in your face or waiting for it to hit a head where it's something that you do resent, that requires us to really be in tune with our intuition and be honest with ourselves about our feelings. There's going to be something that really blooms for you this month around the truth of your feelings. Sometimes it takes things coming to a close for us to realize what we have felt all along. The same way sometimes people are in relationships, they're so in love with their partner, and then the relationship dynamic ends the way it was. They break up, and then suddenly that person has all these things to say. Where was that during the relationship? Sometimes we need things to close for us to really recognize all of the emotion we were storing inside related to that. And that's also where we get to see where our side of the street wasn't clean, where we weren't being fully honest with each other because we weren't being fully honest with ourselves. And all of these are just reflections for us to come into deeper truth with ourselves about how we are really feeling. So often when contracts close up, whether it's a relationship of any sort, or it's a career, or it's time in a city, whatever it is, we make it all about everyone and everything else. It's this external game. Those connections that we have in our lives are all just reflectors for us. They're reflections and mirrors for us to realize the frequencies we've been holding within ourselves and how we've been behaving and how we perceive things, and where we are in victim energy when we didn't think we were, or where we are giving our power away, or where we are having everybody else decide for our lives instead of deciding for ourselves, where we are not taking action on our own intuition, our own emotions, where we're not actually standing up for ourselves. These are moments to look at, well, what is this reflecting back to me about what I'm allowing in my life, what I'm asking for in my life, what I'm not, what I believe is possible for me. Can I ask for more? And I do really feel like the closures that are going to happen in September, it feels like a texture of sadness more than anything else. But that texture of sadness comes simultaneously with really big excitement, because you're going to have opportunities already lined up. And those are going to come in and make you realize, wow, I was asking for too little from the universe. I actually could receive more, because I really strongly feel what's coming is better than you even knew was possible. And that's the problem with our human limitations. And that's the problem with specifically manifesting, is we try to come up with what we think is our pinnacle, and our human brains are limited in what they know. You don't know what you don't know. And so that's why it's so powerful and magical to work in that realm of the unknown, because the unknown is unlimited. And that's where you can be sure that your human mind is not going to limit you in what your requests are and what you believe is possible for yourself. Because you are capable of being and receiving so much more than you are oriented toward now. It's the same idea as when I tell people, I go, you realize you haven't even met the best people in your life yet. You haven't even met them. And isn't that so exciting? And that is not everybody around me isn't good enough. It's, this can be beautiful and amazing, and more things that are amazing can keep getting added in. And we don't have to limit the abundance we experience and feel in terms of love and joy, abundance of all sorts, and happiness. There gets to always be more love and more joy, and a deepening of receiving that and holding that, and an expansion of our container. So I'm actually going to we're going to start with our red deck here about what messages we need for this September and how we can move through any of that, or anything that we're not seeing coming. Grounded, message, time, and healer. Okay, I love these cards. Grounded. What are the practices and rituals that are grounding you in? Exploring where you are self-sourcing, feeling grounded, or sourcing from source, versus where have I been getting my sense of groundedness from this thing that perhaps is coming to a close. So people feel unstable when they have sourced their groundedness from their career, or from their home, or from that person. And as long as you do that, and I've said this many times, but it takes many times of hearing it to really understand it. If anything changes externally, you've already set yourself up to feel ungrounded and to feel unstable. And we want to allow our fields, we want to allow our soul essence, source energy to be our sense of groundedness. So no matter what chaos is happening outside of ourselves, when things change, we feel grounded in the shifting and in the changes. So if change means instability for you, that's what we need to look at right now. But I do think that this month you're going to actually get that opportunity to experience what it feels like to feel grounded in the change. This is a 22 card, which the numbers don't always pop for me, but this is 22 is so much about partnership and balance. And this is about realizing that when the frequency of your life has that energy of, I feel that there is a balance of giving and receiving in my reality, and the players, the characters can swap out, but I am in that flow because I've already designed that flow in the energy of my life. You realize that you are anchored with yourself and with source, and nothing's going to throw you off. So I do think that you actually can experience endings or change in a really different way than ever before, which is a really beautiful experience. The message card, so many signs and synchronicities, coming back to this theme of noticing who's coming into your life. If you ask for an angel to enter your life, an angel will enter your life. And spirit is speaking through everyone all the time. When you ask for a message, you will receive it. I feel that you have been getting signs for a while, and they're probably all finally coming together for you this month, but it's going to be so glaringly obvious through the signs and synchronicities that you are going to be supported through this, and really leaning on that as a sense of groundedness. And this is about you actually believing in that connection with source. The time card is interesting. What this really brings up for me here is about going back to this idea of a contract and how sometimes the time is just up and a new time starts. So it's this experience of time in a different way, of these chunks of experience, these chunks of contracts. And when we learn the lessons, it's time for a change. When the sand runs out, you flip it over and you do it again. And that's very much our experience with different soul contracts and different phases of our career and phases of ourselves. It's very much like moon, sun, we're shifting the energy and getting something new out of it. And so there is a feeling with this that it's time. It's just time. And with that, divine timing of new opportunity coming in a number of ways. And it wasn't about you doing anything. It was literally just about time. It just happened. Healer. I feel that this is very much, again, about this concept of like an angel is coming in my life. And we have angels coming in our lives all the time, whether that's somebody you know personally or not. There is a really strong, sometimes this card is about you recognizing yourself as the healer or self-healing, but this really feels like you recognizing that a person or people are there to reflect back to you in really powerful new ways, are there to help you heal as well. And so much of the healer journey is recognizing that we heal ourselves. And so much of being a healer is knowing that you're not healing anyone, they're healing themselves. But from another human perspective, it is really healing and beautiful to experience someone coming in your life, and just through them being them, just through them sharing what they feel called to share, which is the divine working through them, that those connections heal something in you. One of the most healing things we can experience is entering a situation that feels like an old dynamic and having somebody respond completely differently. So that moment where you expect somebody to run away and they stay. Those are really powerful moments of healing, and I feel that people are going to come into your life and very much offer you those healing opportunities by responding differently. Actually, let's go here. What else can we know about September? It's like the September timelines and completions are what open a bridge into 2027. This 2027 thing is very, very strong. Okay. Healing heart, love, acceptance, romance, going back to the healer. Emotional desert, inactivity, isolation. Sensitivity and strength, tapping the forces within. Freedom, moving on and letting go. Joy, blessings, and intuition. So we know where we're ending up. We're ending up in a joyful place. Sometimes you know the exact track that's going to bring you joy, but that doesn't mean it's always all joy and sunshine and rainbows getting there. There can be sadness and closure in that. Again, coming back to this experience of people coming into your life, it's like people coming into your life showing you the frequency of divine love. And for some of you, this will be a romantic partner. For some of you, this will be friendship. But it's going to be somebody showing you a new example. And there's this really important time of in between. There's a really important time of pulling your energy back. And some of you will have felt like you already experienced this. You can be in a period of isolation even while in the 3D it looks like you are around people all the time, because it's an internal experience of almost pulling your energy back and just spending a lot of time reflecting and noticing and witnessing. And some of you might feel like you need space from everybody else to just clear that energy and get a sense of, how do I feel? What do I want? What's important to me? But I think you're going to really become aware of how deeply entrenched you were in certain contracts with people and certain energetic dynamics, and need to pull the energy back to witness, because new examples are going to show you new opportunities. You are going to need to be the brave one when it comes to honoring what you really need. One of the most important messages I can give you is, when you know you have a desire within yourself, you have to believe that you have that desire because it's meant for you. What we're getting at are really subtle, settling energies where you can feel like, I have everything I ever wanted, and it's 1% off, because there's a piece of you that feels like, well, I have everything I ever wanted. Why would I ask for more? But there's something important about that 1% that's very different. And that's what people are going to come in to show you. The freedom card comes with moving on and letting go, right? You let the bird out of the cage and it can finally fly. And so it's okay. I experience freedom when I release this contract, when I finally move on, move forward. A lot of these endings and moving forward, this does not feel like it comes out of the blue. It feels like it's been building over the last 3 months or so. There might have been points where initially it felt like it came out of the blue, but really it's something that has been deep in your gut for a moment. But this is really looking at what's happening in my emotional landscape, and do I feel free in the relationships I'm in the dynamics I'm in? How do I feel in my career? How do I feel in my romantic relationship? How do I feel in my friendships? Do I feel free to be myself, or do I feel caged? Do I feel true love, or do I feel contentment or convenience? This is where we need to look at where we feel like we are in an emotional desert. If you are in the right relationships, this should not feel dry. It should feel really active and loving. And so we're coming back deeper into ourselves to call attention to, where am I not getting what I need? And what's coming forward is showing you that oasis, but we have to be strong enough. We have to trust enough to honor that sensitivity, that intuition, and say, okay, I'm going to release and let the universe do the rest. So it really does come back to that idea of, can I leave good for great? And I do feel like this isn't jumping in blind. That's the thing about this month. It doesn't feel like you're jumping in blind. It feels like you either already have the opportunity set up, like something else already came in and said, hey, you could have, like, here's a job opportunity. You could move here. A new person you met, or like a new group of friends is inviting you forward. It's already there, or there's been very strong examples of what's possible, right? So maybe it's not the exact job you want, but you saw your friend just get this amazing job. So you know it's right there. You know it's possible. That's what I mean by you're not jumping in blind. That would feel like, well, I don't even know if that exists, what I desire. No. You're going to get an example that it's there. This is where we receive expanders in our lives about what's possible. Messages for September. Koi fish spirit, there is always enough. Bobcat spirit, life is a mystery. Hummingbird spirit, be here now. Otter spirit, you are never alone. The koi fish spirit card is really about scarcity mindset versus abundance mindset. And so that's what we were talking about before in terms of, are you staying because you think that what you want is not possible? That's scarcity energy. Scarcity thinking is, I'm not going to leave this job because what if nothing better exists? Or I'm not going to move out of this house because what if I can never find a better place that's this price? That's all scarcity thinking. And so this is you understanding that if you say no to this opportunity, a better one's going to come in, right? People say, well, you know, I got this career opportunity and it's the best thing I've seen in however long, but is it what you want? No, that's scarcity. That's why you're saying yes to it. So we're really getting pushed to experience abundance mindset, and it's going to be staring you right in the face of what to choose. Bobcat spirit, life is a mystery. Understanding that what comes in will probably not be what you expected. It might feel a little bit like everything's crashing down around you, but it's moving you into expansion, and you're going to have visceral evidence that there is a larger plan that's been unfolding, because it's that kind of thing where this month you look at what happens and you go, I mean, I certainly can't deny that I never had any of this planned for my life. And that's where you really have that understanding of, I cannot micromanage the universe because I know so little. I know so little. Hummingbird spirit, be here now. This is about the power of being in the present moment and everything we do about worrying about the future. So if you're noticing with closures or feeling like things are out of balance, typically we start to get stressed about the future. We're worried about it. We're anxious about it. We're caught up in the past. We can't forgive the past. Well, you did this. I need to know what happened over there and what was the truth about what happened in the past or in the future. Well, if I do this, are they going to X, Y, Z? We start to just catastrophize and go in all kinds of directions that are very much not healthy. Be in the present moment. What are you experiencing now? What's available for you now? There are going to be some things that get closed out that are going to be closed out, not because the actual dynamic, like who's involved, is wrong, but just the way that you're going about it was wrong. You know, so maybe it's you were friends and now you're going to date. Maybe it was you were friends, but they should actually be your client. Maybe it was you're at the right company, but you're in the wrong role. And so now you're taking a bigger role. That's the other thing about a closure. And I do feel like a lot of this sadness is more about, like, you've got to know that whoever's on the other side is going to be okay. I don't think that's the real issue. The sadness is about the comforts that came with the version of you that were in that contract. Like, there's this kind of nostalgic energy to it. And you're going to realize where that nostalgic energy is connected to a version of you that maybe doesn't, that it's afraid of more responsibility, or that's afraid of being seen in a deeper way, or that's afraid of being visible in a deeper way. And so that a lot of that sadness is, wow, there's a version of myself connected to that is just not going to be there anymore because I'm really going to be visible in this dynamic, whatever it is. In Otter spirit, you are never alone. And I think that's something that we so often default to, right? Like, I'm afraid, I don't want to be alone, whether that's I don't want to leave this job and be stuck alone, or I don't want to leave this friend group and then be alone, or I don't want to leave this relationship and be alone, or if I move, I'm going to have nowhere to live. That's all the scarcity mindset. This is for you to recognize that there's so much support for you, physically and non-physically. Ask your guides for divine intervention. Pray to your angels, ask your angels to intervene, ask for signs and synchronicities through friends and people in your life. You really need to allow that when you release this, you open up space. I feel that there is a lot of support that is trying to come in your field. And for some of you, that will be the experience of how you know it's time to close this contract, because it will feel like this whole other life is almost crowding in on you. And wow, there's so much going on over there. It's easy. It's almost like it squeezes that old thing out. And I think you're going to really have a very nice visceral experience that you are not alone, but you have to allow that, and you have to change that talk if you keep going into that kind of talk. So let's end with some tarot, actually. What can you tell us about, what do you need to know for September 2025 with our red energy? It's interesting because I feel like Halloween energy in September. Like, I feel like it's like the vibe of watching Halloween movies. Or like, yeah, I don't know. Okay, we like this. All right, so beginning might feel a little slow. Reposition here. Beginning is going to be things sorting themselves out, and is going to be fast. It's going to come together pretty quickly for you. So we start with the Justice card, Page of Wands, 3 of Pentacles, King of Swords, 8 of Wands, Queen of Pentacles, and the Emperor. I mean, these are strong cards. For a lot of you, this is going to be about divine union and what that really means. So for some of you, this is relationship upgrades so much that the dynamic between you and your partner is unrecognizable. You guys have to have a totally different dynamic, and it's going to get pushed. It's like the kind of thing where you have so many fights and you feel like it's going so south, and that's actually what turns it around to be everything you wanted, because you had to go there. You had to dig it up and realize what you really wanted. For others of you, this is going to be, you know, a new relationship that actually has that divine union template activated. And this comes back to, for a lot of you, maybe thinking that's not possible. Like, what are your expectations of the people you date, and where you expect less than what's possible? And that's where I do feel like in relationships, it's a really strong place where people are going to come in and expand you about how people can really be, and how kind and loving and open-hearted and grounded and independent and confident people actually can be. And that's going to make you see other people in your life quite differently. But the Justice card is very much scales coming back into balance of, you planted a lot of seeds, you've set a lot of intentions. If you have been following your heart and doing your work, your internal work, and just showing up to the process, you don't have to be perfect, but you have been anchored into positive intentions. And if you're like, why hasn't it happened for me yet? It doesn't make any sense. That kind of energy. Like, I'm putting in all the action. I'm trying really hard. I'm setting my intention. Things are gonna finally come forward. And that's what this Page of Wands is very much about. This is news of something that is going to light you on fire, something you're going to feel passionate and excited about, like it's finally going to come in. Sometimes things take time to drop in. This 3 of Pentacles is very much about collaboration, and having that community and having that support, new people coming into your life. For some people, this is third party energy, and third party is like that third option, right? So it's interesting. I got this other job opportunity, and I'm kind of cheating on my current job with this job, but like, I like this one better. That was interesting how that came in. Or for others, you know, it's whether it's friends or romantically, it's like you meet somebody and you're realizing, wait, there's this whole other way of doing things that I didn't realize was there before. And this is what activates this King of Swords, where you make very strong cuts in your life. You make very strong choices in your life of, this has got to go. Like, it becomes so mentally clear for you. And when you finally activate that King of Swords, when you look at what happened and what's lighting you up and what's not working, what's possible now, it's like, okay, I'm going to make a choice. I'm going to make a choice. And you are going to feel confident in that choice. That doesn't mean you're going to not going to have fears or emotions, but you're going to feel confident. This is what has to be done. And that is what makes the energy move very, very, very fast, and things fall into place. And so I do feel like this new timeline, this new reality is gonna plop in really quickly. It's gonna plop in before the beginning of October. So September will have ending feeling, but it's going to have beginning feeling, because by the end of September, it's like, wow, I'm settling into this new dynamic. Queen of Pentacles, the Emperor. We love this. We love this new structure. We love this stabilized, grounded. I'm taking action. I'm supported. This financially abundant version of you. This balance between being receptive and intuitive, but also very financially abundant. And so this is very much like I'm receiving in the material world what I've been asking for a long time. And I finally have this support system that I have been desiring, but I also have found that structure and support and that groundedness within myself, going back to what we said at the very beginning. And for some of you, this will be represented in the people around you. I do really feel like external circumstances change, but you're going to recognize that they didn't change because they changed. They changed because you changed. They changed because you had really important realizations about what's possible for you, and because you chose differently. And that is what shifts the reality around you. So this is going to be a very telling month. Things are going to hit ahead in a good way, and you don't need to be scared. You just get to notice, stay grounded in your heart, one step at a time, and it'll all work out. That's September for us. Leave a comment. Let me know what resonates for you, if you're already feeling this, if you know what this is about for you already. And I would love to hear how it lands. That's going to be it for today. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you have an amazing September, and I'll chat with you again next time.